go, YouTube. Come on now. End stream. I think we're good. I think we're good. Refresh. I think yes. We're good. Fantastic. Good enough. Refresh. Enough of the overlay. Okay. Welcome. Welcome for those who are tuning in. I know there's a couple of people there for now. Hey, John, thanks for tuning in. We seem to be supporting each other in different YouTube streams and live streaming ventures, but like you, I'm keen to try and build up some community around some of the things that we're discovering and checking out. So I wanted to bring to you today the content camera within Microsoft Teams, and some have said, hey, Daryl, did you know it was coming because you've got a whiteboard there? It's actually something that I've wanted to have in my office anyway, because I quite like drawing things and being able to plan things out in more of a spatial kind of way. But yeah, I didn't know that content camera was coming. A little bit of background about what content camera is. You might have seen it earlier where it was a feature for meeting rooms and you could turn it on and you had to have a dedicated camera and it would go transparent and you'd be able to write on boards and all sorts of things. Well, that's how we've actually seen that come now into Microsoft Teams. So I guess let's get on to it, because some of the things that I get comments about are, Daryl, get on with it in terms of what you're demonstrating and doing. So we'll take a look at it now. I've got a meeting going, funny enough, and we're in a public preview to get to this feature, the content camera. And when you're running a meeting, I've got my video turned off, my audio turned off, so I don't get any echoes at this stage. But it is about presenting content. In fact, when you see the feature arrive in your tenant, you'll see a little blue icon to say, here it is, it's available, be able to share from your camera. So it's a nice way to guide you into what that feature is. I'm lucky enough to have 3 screens. I've got windows that are open, and as I scroll down, just where we've got whiteboard, we now have content from camera. And this is the magical part that we're going to see in action. Now, the key thing about this feature is it's initially about leveraging the webcam that is connected to your device. So today, for me, that is a couple of devices, but maybe for some of you who are going into a meeting room, you are using the web camera that is available to you. In fact, if I turn that on now there we go, so that's the integrated camera. And this is a Dell XPS laptop. It's a great laptop, but you know, the web camera, it does have issues. In fact, I've got this big window right in front of me, so the light will change and it will always be trying to adjust. It doesn't do a great job of it. So you will be working with best with what you've got. And we'll see, as we turn this off, that when we choose content camera, the idea is that it is about bringing in content from whatever your camera points to, and it will change the contrast, make the ink a bit more visible, and if it's a document, then it'll make the text more visible. So yeah, really looking forward to using this in real scenarios. And like I said, for many of us, it's going to be about leveraging the laptop that we have. Now this is a good demo, right? So I've got three options here: whiteboard, document, and video. We'll go through each one of them. The obvious one, the whiteboard, let's choose that. So our first experience as we go through this, you will get a little intro, which you can tick the box to say I don't want to see it again, but share a whiteboard. Point your camera at a nearby whiteboard to detect it. So when we choose got it, it should draw that green line around the whiteboard, and see it's already having trouble a bit with the changing exposure. Yeah, there we go. So it's actually chosen the whole image because it timed out. But if I had pulled the blinds across and I haven't got that exposure issues with sunlight changing and changing the what it's scanning, then it'll have issue. It'll do what we see here. So let's scan it again. It'll lock in. I might even just try and reach across and pull those blinds across. Ah, there we go. Oh, almost. One more time. Great. So what you've seen is that it's zeroing right in, and it changes the angle of the perspective of the whiteboard so that it flattens it. And if you imagine like you've got your laptop sitting there in front of the board, that it could be at an angle or not really the ideal angle to try and capture the board there. So it's capturing it. Good. When we're going through this screen, we've got the choice even in this screen to choose from the cameras that might be connected to our device. So I'm going to show you another camera or two, if I can get the third one going, to show you the difference in quality. You can also change between what you've chosen earlier, whether it's a whiteboard, document, or video. The other options we have here, we could tell it to not detect edges, so that it's just going to take the whole image and do what we saw earlier, where it'll do some strange contrast and make it a bit weird to see. So we won't do that because we had to have a second go at it to make it work. And we can also choose not to overlay presenter. So if I go back into the frame over here, you'll see that the ink is detected off the board and then it's overlaid on me. So it's kind of, it says don't overlay the presenter, but really the ink has been overlaid over me. Oh, that's interesting. Line art. Quick sketch that. John, sorry. If you have some blue painter's tape, that'll help with the edges. Yeah, I guess it would. You'll find when I demonstrate also using my iPhone and Epoch camera, quality is better. And normally I would also have the laptop a little closer, but because of my desk setup, it's not so cool. So yeah, could turn off the overlay. That should just basically, as I'm drawing in front of it, it will capture that ink, but it won't try and overlay me and make me transparent. Okay, so let's share that. And as we're sharing it into the meeting, that is what you'll see. Notice that at the bottom corner, it turns off my camera. So it is actively trying to use the camera to detect the whiteboard, and it's not going to try and present me along with it. So keep that in mind, that as you're wanting to maybe present, then you are going to be trying to fit in with the frame and whatever it's capturing. Now, even at a distance, you don't really see this now, but if I stretched out, I guess it's about 1.50 meters. I don't know about in feet and inches, sorry America, but it's yeah, a fair distance away, but it is managing to capture that ink. And also the key thing is that when you're using a camera that autofocuses, if you're closer to it, well, you've got to be closer to the board. That helps to capture the image and make the ink a bit sharper. So you'll see that is a better quality when I do this from my iPhone and using Epoch camera, which turns my iPhone into a webcam. So we've got ink. Let's just try and draw something up here. We'll take a bit of a roll call. Hey, Thomas Love. So we've got Thomas Love, John, and you'll notice, like, because as I'm writing, the camera can't see it yet until I move away from it. But once I do move away and then come back in to add to it, the list or the ink stays there. And Sumjack. Hello, Sumjack. Right. So pretty average, really, for that integrated camera, especially at that distance. But it's doing the job. What about if we change some of these settings in the app as we go? So at the bottom here, we could say don't overlay the presenter. What's that going to do? Well, it's basically giving you a zoomed in video feed. 1.50 meters is about 3.2 bald eagles end to end, I think. Yeah, that's good US measurement there. You've got imperial where some countries used to use it, and then you've got imperial US measurements. So I've turned off overlay, and it's just giving me that zoomed in granular kind of view. And actually maybe that's a good indication of why this is pretty average quality, because the inbuilt webcam in this laptop, I think maybe it does 720p. It's average, as you can see, in terms of detecting light and adjusting. So it's got all of those things to struggle with to try and make a good point of view of Whiteboard. So as we turn that back over, you can see why the ink looks a bit meh. Okay. What other settings do we have? Is we're in a live shared Whiteboard. It looks like it just brings us back. At least we don't have to go through that scanning experience beforehand. So keep this in mind, that if you are using your inbuilt webcam and you go through that scanning feature, think about lighting as well. And maybe you don't have a choice. If your whiteboard is stuck on a wall and it's got the sun coming in from a certain point of view at a certain time of day, then it's not going to do a great job of scanning it. Just before we go away from this scan and this camera, was there anything that you wanted to see? Hey Adam, how's it going? And Rebecca, awesome. Maybe I should just add your names to the list there. Let's just share that back on. So for those of you who have just joined, we've scanned the board, and this is using the inbuilt webcam on an XPS laptop. It's about 3.2 bald eagles away, apparently, according to John, or in rest of the world measurements, about 1.5 meters away. We have Rebecca. And Adam. All right. So you notice it's drawing that up. Now I really want to switch over to using the camera from my iPhone, because it's great, and I think it's a really good example of where you might use that. Good quality camera will definitely help. Yeah, and look, the third camera I wanted to show you, I swear, I had it working earlier today. It's my DSLR, which you've seen from now, but of course, if it's been used in two different applications, sometimes the sources don't work as well as we had hoped or expected. Let's go over to using another camera. So we could do it from scratch again, just for those who are just joining us. We share content, because it is content, it's the content camera. So you've got your options of screen, windows, etc. And here's content from camera, document, whiteboard, and more. We'll choose whiteboard again. And this time, we'll go into EpocCam. So it's used the integrated camera that I had beforehand, but as I switch over, let's just bring this over now. And the other thing I'm going to do with this is just tap the screen, because the EpocCam, let's just switch over back to webcam view. EpocCam, okay, I'm well set up. I've got a nice frame there to be able to point it and keep it steady in the light, but it's good to be able to just tap it and turn it onto a fixed focus, especially if you're going to be pointing at something that's not going to move. If it was me in front of the camera, I'd leave it on autofocus, which is, what you would see. You can see a bit sort of coming in back and forth, but already you can see the difference in quality if we flick on over to that screen. So sharp. Again, it's down to the lens, right? You've got a lens in a great, gorgeous laptop, which is probably a bit of a shortcut. They're providing it because at least it gives you the capability. But this is part of the reason why I do get another webcam or another camera of sorts to use with laptops like this. Yeah, so Tomislav, exactly, and John, when you're trying to use the camera, it does deactivate the camera from presenting me within the meeting. So we'll see that again as we go from here. We'll share that activated camera, and already super, super sharp, right? Interesting that it hasn't picked up. Rebecca and Adam. I've got a feeling that the camera may have, yeah, it has its timed out. Let's just see if we can get this back going again. Stop sharing. Epoch camera. Bing bong bing, come on. Show you what I'm saying. Might just unplug that and plug it back in. I only just got this going again recently. You had to update drivers for EpocCam and iTunes, and it would work. Bother, it's a bit of a pain. I wonder why it's not working. Just have a quick look at one of my scenes here and remove it from it, just in case. Camera. Yep. And EpocCam will just remove it. It might have been sitting in the background still trying to work. So let's have a look at that. We'll just restart that part of it again. And maybe the app too. Fun. Yeah, other Murphy's Law. We've been having construction work on pavement just outside our house. So of course they were going to start cutting concrete and using jackhammers before I needed to go live. Looks like we're having some issues with this second camera, which is a bit of a pity. So using USB. Oh, you know, that's just the way it is, I guess. You did see it in action though, right? You believe me. It was sharp. It looked great. I'll just bump down the quality. But yeah, it's just not connecting. So that is a bit of a pain. We'll go just back over to the integrated cam to just keep looking at a few other things. But yeah, we saw it, exactly. We saw it. I had just the briefest glimpse of it. Sometimes with these things and live streaming and OBS, you've got to restart all sorts of stuff. And we're in a stream right now, so we don't want to do that. I'm going to do a more produced run through of this a bit later so that it's more information dense and easier for people to review. So I'm just here with a bunch of friends who are happy to have jumped online with me and reviewing the feature as a first look through. So we'll just go back and activate that as another camera. Whiteboard, got it. Oh, it might actually work. Let's just try a different thing. Switch between that and EpocCam. Yeah, maybe we'll just leave the meeting and go back in. So is this filling you with confidence that this feature will work consistently and reliably? Look, don't take it from me because I've got all sorts of devices and things poking out of the back of my laptop, so it does tend to cause some issues. Interesting. Oh well. We'll get back in there with integrated camera and just carry. Was there a second EpocCam? No. Apologies there. We'll just continue with our audio and keep on going. So we will present again and share the content camera. Maybe we'll choose a different option. let's go through document. Now, just to make a point here too, I'm not sure if this actually makes much difference. And I guess it's going to be hard to see because we're using the integrated camera. But the point here is that if you do have a document scanner or overhead document camera, and there are things like that. It reminds me of those older overhead projectors we used to have in the 80s, and the plastic that you would draw on and write on to present from. But it's a camera that looks down over the top, purpose-built for that. I don't know if there's going to be a way of using our mobile phones, perhaps. Maybe they'll build the feature into the mobile phone. That'd be quite cool to be able to do document camera and join that to the meeting, so you could just put it over the top. Who knows? But yeah, we'll play a bit more with it. So let's go back in with our integrated camera and hope that we can get it to detect the board. Okay, so this is document, but what's the difference? Not a lot. I think it's still about just trying to detect the edges of a document. It hasn't gone at all into overlaying the presenter. And maybe that's one of the main differences. Let's just put that back here over as the desktop. Sorry about that. So it's not even trying to overlay. It's just as sharp as it can be. I think it's changing the contrast a little. Wowzers. So do you want to go out and buy a Dell XPS laptop with this camera? I recommend getting another camera, of course. But yeah, I mean, it's going to just detect and sharpen up the text. If this was text over the top, then perhaps it would be a better view of a document. Can we turn on overlay presenter? Yes, we can. So yeah, I think that maybe it's just a pre-selection. Catch you later, Adam. Thanks for coming. What's our last choice? If we're presenting, I guess I didn't need to do that. We could have gone back into settings, but it is just a straight video feed. So it's not going to try and... I'm not sure what the point of that is actually. If it's a straight video feed, maybe we still have to detect edges. It's like there's a combination of different settings, and those are the templates. That you've got video feed is purely about not detecting edges. Document detects edges, but it doesn't overlay the presenter. And then whiteboard overlays the presenter, detects the edges, and tries to make things a bit different. Using the phone with this feature would be, so that comment there from Rebecca, yeah. Using this feature with a phone would make more sense. Certainly more portable, exactly. Although, I'm thinking like, and you've seen this quite a bit too, with people when we join calls on the web and we want to do it from our phones, we're like looking for something to try and prop it up there. And then we've got this view that goes up the nose, and it's not the most flattering. And I think if it was possible to do it with a phone, it's going to be a bit like when we can join a Teams meeting with a phone and from the desktop or laptop. And so that becomes almost like our movable camera. That's what would be useful, I think, for overhead camera views of documents. The other thing I think would be a challenge there is it's about detecting the edges when you're using a whiteboard. And so it tries to find those edges and correct it and flatten the image out. But if your hand is moving around, then that could be a problem. But yeah, I do like your use case there, Rebecca, about, or Bex, about using it for sketchnoters. You've been tempted to get one of them as well, one of those overhead cameras. So yeah, awesome. Just going back to that more natural view of writing and sketching, right? Because you've used OneNote, you've used various other things, or I've been there when you've done it, but there's just nothing like being able to just write on paper and present that way. So yeah, I think, look, we've covered most of it off, and I could probably try one more time at trying to get this other camera to work. Let's just cross our fingers and see. It's not really changing over to anything. Let's choose Epoch camera. Nah. Quit while I'm ahead, I think. And I know that if I cut over to using my mirrorless, catch you later, Bex, thanks for coming. If I cut over to my mirrorless, then it's going to do a funny thing with my live stream kit. It's going to probably just freeze up the video. So let's not do that. John, just out of interest, yesterday I got a adapter for, let's put this over here, adapter for my iPad. So it's the USBC one to try and push it on through, and the colors were coming through. I was trying to capture it using an HD 60S Plus, and so it's only ever going to get to 1080p, but it was also struggling with the colors that it was being received. So I actually swapped my cam link, and I'm using my cam link for capturing my iPad, and I'm using the HD 60 for capturing my camera. Yeah, interesting, but it's either that, or I was going to try and, I looked at the price of the 4K version of the capture card, and it's like $600 here in New Zealand. No, can't get that through the budget at the moment. Back to that. Yeah, so look, you've seen it in action. I think it's going to be good. I know it's not the best laptop that we demonstrated it with. You did see a brief glimpse of it working in the Epoch camera. Just keep an eye out for the more detailed produced breakdown of how this works. Maybe I'll get a bit more creative with taking videos and pictures from different angles. And perhaps if we manage to get back in the office and we go down to level 2 of COVID alert levels, then I could be doing this from a real office with a real whiteboard, and that would be interesting. Thanks again for tuning in. I don't have an outro. I'm just going to throw the overlay up over the top there, and I'm going to hit end stream. Peace out. But yeah, thanks again. Bye for now.